Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Mike.
Good morning. We apologize for the slight delay. We're having a little bit of an issue here technically, so if you could bear with us for 2 minutes, I think we'll be okay. Hold on.
Morning, Neha. How are you?
Morning, Rob. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Morning.
Morning.
Everyone's being so good, it's so quiet. How about those Bulls? Maybe a resurgence in the Bulls. Hey, you know, we've all been waiting for the next Michael Jordan, but maybe we got at least a team that can win.
How about the Blackhawks too? They finally get their first win.
Yeah.
Playing awesome.
Apologies, everyone. We have one panelist who's having some challenges getting in, and for some reason the link is not working. That was the reason for the delay, but he's going to call in. So hang in there with us. But we're going to get started, and I'm cautiously optimistic we'll have 1/3 of our panel joining us momentarily. But good morning, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us. Apologies for the slight delay. My name is Mike Schnitzler. I am going to be serving as your moderator today, and I've been a member of the TEI board since about 2007. We are here to talk about a very important topic this morning, which obviously is recruiting, attracting, and retaining talent at all levels in the current environment. I was going to give an introduction of TEI for those of you not familiar, but in the interest of time, I think I'm going to jump over that and just let you know that this is the first in a series of focused breakfasts that we'll be hosting over the next few months in lieu of the fact that we could not do our annual President's Forum this year in September. It was all teed up, but due to some spikes in the pandemic, we decided that we would err on the side of caution, and we did not move forward with that. So thank you for being here this morning. We have an exceptional panel today. I'm going to take a moment and introduce them, and then we're going to jump right into our topics. I would encourage you to all participate. If you do have comments, feel free to jump in, or if you prefer, you can use the chat feature or raise your hand, whichever you prefer. We don't want to make this too formal. We do have Bob Rodenbaugh standing by from TEI to monitor the chat if you so desire to communicate that way if you have a question. Let me introduce our panel. We have, first of all, Annie Brown. Annie, you can wave. You can see that huge thing behind her. I have no idea what it is, but I'm sure she'll tell us. Annie is currently president of Mason Manufacturing down in Decatur, Illinois. She started with Mason in 2015 as our controller, was promoted to COO in March of 19 and accepted the position of president of the company in April of this year. Prior to Mason, she held a position of very diverse background, auto dealership, a consultant for a federal nutrition program, and customer service manager for a document search filing service company. So she's got quite an interesting background, and I'm sure she'll give us some very interesting insights. So welcome, Annie.
Thank you.
We have, hopefully coming in here momentarily, we have Fonz Weninger. Fonz is the head of talent and leadership for the U.S. region of CIBC Bank USA. I see we have Steve Olson with CIBC with us again are here this morning too, so welcome, Steve. We may call on you to pinch hit if necessary. I know you're not prepared, but
I think it's me as well as Patrick, so we're both here.
Patrick's
So.
here too. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah.
But Steve can cut all the questions.
Fonz's area of
You're dressed better than I am today. I think you're going to take it.
yeah. Fonz is an extensive background in leadership, coaching, talent management, development, acquisition, inclusion, diversity, etc. And he's also a PhD candidate in organizational leadership and a SHRM certified professional. So he's really got exceptional credentials. So I'm optimistic he'll be with us hopefully momentarily. And last but certainly not least, I can introduce my personal colleague here, Neha Rana from Insperity. Neha has been an HR specialist with our firm since mid-2019. She brings about 15 years of experience and expertise to her role, supporting a diverse mix of emerging growth clients, typically those with 30 to about 150 employees. She is also a SHRM certified professional, highly effective in core HR processes, and has been recognized by senior management for her problem solving and negotiating and presentation skills. So welcome, Neha. So this morning, we're going to launch right into our discussion here. And I'm going to kick it off with one important question, and then we'll kind of see if where the dialogue takes us. So Marianne, I'll have you kick it off here a little bit, but all three of you can respond here. How important is a hybrid workplace right now and in the future, based upon where we're at, with the future essentially so uncertain? How can we maintain a strong team culture and high productivity with continued work from home and a hybrid environment, especially both in the manufacturing sector as well as the professional services sector? So with that, Marianne, I'll let you kick it off, and hopefully we'll have Fonz here momentarily.
Sure. I think hybrid in manufacturing is a unique concept because we're on the floor. In the back of my background, you'll see a pressure vessel. We do welding and working with steel. So during the pandemic, when we saw so many companies able to go hybrid, we weren't able to jump in fully. We had office employees, including engineers, purchasing, that were able to take advantage of working from home. But the majority of our employees maintained the access of coming into work, working together during the pandemic. We did have to try to adjust some of our work schedules, some of our environments, so that we were safe during the pandemic. But there's a challenge there. The employees from the plant coming into the office, well, where's the purchasing manager? I'm looking for something. Well, we had to change our perspectives and recognize each person's needs are different. And I think that goes forward as we move forward into the next year or two, hopefully leaving the pandemic behind, but that does not mean we have to leave the hybrid behind if it's working, and each employee needs to be able to express what best fits their needs, but where we're still managing expectations for the company.
Great. Thank you, Marianne. Fonz, I think you're in. I just want to make sure. I saw you come in and call in, so I know you can't see you. Are you able to hear me? No? If so, you're still on mute. I'll throw it over to Neha, and Neha, you can jump into this conversation. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. So yeah, the hybrid workforce is definitely becoming something of the future where businesses can allow that for their organization. So we have many clients in our sector. Many went to fully remote. They got rid of their office space, or they have downsized their office space to very minimum for those times that they need people to come in for collaboration, or those essential employees that need to be in the office pending their role in the organization. We have many organizations that have adopted a combination of the hybrid or flexible workforce. You know, again, certain departments are in the office because they're in central all the time. Some positions are fully remote. and some positions are hybrid, again, pending their department and what they do and how they contribute to the organization. But it is definitely important for the future because, especially in this last year and a half, the new topic is now mental health and burnout and stress. And employees have been wanting a work-life balance for years. And this is one of a huge attraction for employees. So if their company doesn't offer a flex workforce or a hybrid or something like that to that matter, but the competitor does or another organization does, they're leaving to be able to work in those environments. Also, the hybrid workforce also now offers a bigger, larger talent pool. We've had many organizations that have been able to hire talent in other counties and states across the country. So your talent pool, you have a bigger base to choose from. And then also being able to move to this hybrid workforce, if your business is able to thrive in this organization, it's definitely preparing you for hopefully we don't have any more future lockdowns, but you never know what can happen from an economic impact. So it is very important if your organization is able to offer this. One of the other things that the hybrid workforce and remote workforce also offers is a better culture for employees. And that is another thing that employees are looking for in an organization. They do not want to stay in an organization where they are micromanaged by their managers. One of the top reasons employees leave the organization is due to their manager and not the organization itself. So you want to ensure that you're also offering a good culture along with that hybrid workforce if you're able to do so.
Outstanding. Thank you, Neha. As I'll encourage you to jump in with questions or comments on the chat or raise your hand. I do think now we have Fonz that is unmuted, fortunately, I hope. Can you hear us, Trias Fonz? Are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me? Does this work now?
It seems to be. Everybody nod their head if you can hear. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Got it.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. Hopefully you had a chance to listen to the comments of your fellow panelists. Why don't you go ahead and jump in?
I just jumped in. So what was the question? Are we talking about a hybrid?
Sorry. Yeah, we're talking about how the importance of a hybrid workplace right now and in the future, and the importance of maintaining a strong culture, high productivity with the hybrid environment we're in now.
Yeah, no, I can echo some of the comments I believe Neha was talking about. So for us at CIBC Bank USA, one of the things that we relish, like most organizations, is our culture. And it's not just something we say, it's actually something we live. And so we've actually seen a breakdown of the silo cultures that lived among our family of companies. As CIBC bought the former private bank 4 years ago, and they also bought Atlantic Trust a year before that. And prior to using technology like Teams and Zooms, we always referred to each other as the legacy company, legacy private bank, or legacy CIBC. In the last 18 to 19 months, those terms legacy have deteriorated. And we actually have built a stronger macro culture across all of our organizations where we are just talking about CIBC and no longer the legacy company. So I do feel that's one thing that was very dynamic from the hybrid situation due to COVID. But I do think from a hybrid environment, it's especially in my world, maybe a little different from some of the other panelists, it's a play for play, right? If you think of organizations like Allstate in Northern Chicago area, 1.9 million square feet for sale, they are going all remote. Other companies, PwC, 44,000 employees strong, all their client services folks will be remote, and a lot of other organizations are going hybrid. It just seems this is the no-brainer in my mind for the wave of the future.
Terrific, thank you. I don't see any comments or questions. Anyone would like to make a comment? Otherwise, we'll move on to another question or topic for our panel. Okay. So the buzzword this year, the last few months, of course, everybody's been hearing about, quote unquote, the great resignation, what's been happening in the workforce with, in all sectors, manufacturing, professional services, etc. I guess the question here is how do we, as employers, manage this phenomenon and plan for the future with so many people deciding that they're done, or at least temporarily done. From a manufacturing perspective, I'm sure it's quite unique and different from the professional services sector. So I'm going to turn it over to Marianne and have her give a perspective from the standpoint of an owner of a small to medium-sized business as opposed to an enterprise organization such as CIBC. Marianne?
Well, this is a real concern, but I think there's two parts to it. Several years ago, manufacturers here in Decatur joined together and recognized we had a core group of our workforce retiring, the people, the baby boomers generation. And that migration of them leaving the workforce left open positions, and we weren't seeing new candidates excited about manufacturing. So coming together as a group and advertising, working with local high schools, the college, even community members to express what opportunities there are in manufacturing tended to have some momentum going, and then the pandemic hit. And we've all experienced the uncertainty, the anxiety. We're seeing the burnout with employees. And so I think as a leader, we really need to communicate openly with our employees. And a big piece of communication is listening. And we as leaders have that vision. We know where we're going. We know what we need to accomplish. We have our star players. We continue to give them more opportunities, but I don't know that we often stop and listen. What is their perspective today? And I think we need to sometimes step back and recognize the world looks different. We need to maybe give different opportunities within our company. Maybe an employee is burnt out because of outside stress, the pandemic in general, but giving them an opportunity for a different position within the company, getting into a different environment. Maybe that would help protect them from having to just leave and focusing on, I need a change. There's change opportunities within each organization, but we won't know that as leaders unless we're listening and asking those questions. And I think that's going to be key for any employee coming in, is to understand what's driving them at this point.
Bonds, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would, there are similarities between what Marianne just described and what I'm about to describe. It's understanding root cause, right? I mean, we think about it all the time from years prior. Obviously, there wasn't a great resignation before, but why are people leaving? And this is something where we've had numerous engagement surveys, and I'm sure your companies have as well. And what did you do with that data? Did you provide the right training? Did you provide the right leadership? Did you provide the right environment? And so it's really, at the end of the day, finding a root cause. Now you could say, well, the market's hotter than it's ever been, so people are leaving for 20 to 30% increases when it comes to just base comp. It's a YOLO world post-pandemic. I know what I want to do, but it isn't this, so I'm going to go find it somewhere else. There's numerous things out there in the market. If you see the news, I mean, you can look at anything that tells you about, now that last month there was a record of 4.3 million U.S. workers that voluntarily quit their jobs. I mean, that's equal to the combined population of South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, Vermont, Wyoming, and the District of Columbia. So that's pretty wild how fast things have changed. Just 18 months ago, the jobless rate sat around an 80-year high. So this is the market we're in. I think organizations need to be not only creative, but they need to understand root causes. And I can tell you what we're doing from CIBC is we're doing what we can to make sure we retain our talent and ensure that they have opportunities at our bank, just like they would in any other financial services organization. So what I mean by that is we've created internal talent drives where we know people around the organization have multiple skill sets, and it may be skill sets that they've gained. Maybe they do extracurricular things outside of their normal work. And how do you apply that to different roles within the organization? So we kicked off a talent drive last week for our technology infrastructure and innovation group, where it was almost an open house to our organization, say, hey, come learn about what's going on in technology, infrastructure, innovation. Here are all the roles that are open, and what skill sets do you have that are transferable into this type of work and or department. So there is a lot going on with the Great Resignation. I think organizations, understand root cause and also provide internal opportunities and development for employees.
Neha, you work with quite a diverse group of clients, ranging 25, 30 employees up to 100 or even more, and quite an interesting cross-section of types of businesses, manufacturing, not-for-profit associations, white-collar professional services firms, and so on. What are you seeing from your perspective?
So that's a great question. Thank you, Mike. So we are seeing, the same in our clients. Our clients are also coming to us with issues on, retaining and attracting talent on both sides. The cause for turnover, I think the number one cause is compensation and benefits. That 36% of the employees that are leaving is due to that reason. 25% are looking for a better work-life balance. 16% are looking for recognition. 8% is looking for a better corporate culture. 5% where company values don't match those values of those employees. And another 5% are leaving for lack of strong relationships with their employees and their managers. So, these are the reasons that we see, even from, with our clients, we do climate surveys and we do exit surveys. And these are the reasons that are coming across why these employees are leaving the organization. And one of the best things that, Bob has already talked about, employee culture is huge. Appreciating your employees is huge. Making sure your compensation and benefits package, and we're not just talking about salary when it comes to compensation, we're looking at the whole package. And that means salary, commissions, bonus, paid time off, benefits, in terms of both 401k contributions from an employer and what the contributions are from a medical perspective from the employer as well, right? Because all those things add up. So while your salary might be on the lower end, let's just say, but if you are offering more in terms of those other benefits or compensation areas, you're looking at the whole compensation package in a whole, and you want to make sure that you're competitive with your competitors.
And Neha, if I can, I just want to add one point there. So you're absolutely right in what we're seeing on day in and day out. The other thing that we're seeing is an emphasis on purpose.
Yeah.
People are looking for purpose. And yes, you could work, and go across the street in our world to Wintrust or a different bank, and maybe there's a higher comp, maybe there's better benefits. But we're also seeing some individuals that are just looking for a different sense of real, true purpose, right? Not only for themselves and what they do, but a corporate purpose, corporate responsibility. These things are critically important to our bank, but it's also critically important to our talent that we want to retain, and also attracting the right talent, either from collegiate levels or even from mid-career and higher. So I think purpose is a big deal as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Fonz. That was another point. Yeah, so purpose in terms of, people wanting to make a difference in what they do. When we've seen the people who have been exiting the workforce, it's been people who have taken early retirement, people are just leaving their companies because it's just a toxic environment. We have a lot of females who have left organizations because of work-life balance and, their extra responsibilities between childcare and taking care of elders in their organization. And so now that employees have had time to come, think about what they really want in an organization, they want to make a difference in what they do. You spend a lot of time at work. And so if you go to work and you're unhappy with what you do and you don't feel like you're making any difference at all, that definitely plays an impact on your motivation and what you want to do, which means if you're not motivated, you're not producing at work.
Right. We have an interesting question in the chat from Rob Iversonstadt, and that is the comment, I don't know which comment he's referring to, but is the comment about purpose more generation determined or across all generational groups? Marianne, any thoughts on that?
I think that goes across all generations. I think as human beings, we find importance in making a contribution. We want to do well at what we're focusing on 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And I think having a sense of value of what you're completing at the end of the day defines you not only as a person, but also as a team member. And that purpose lifts you up and gives you a reason to start each day and to go forward with your best effort.
Any other thoughts on that comment, Neha or Fonz?
No, I agree with Marianne. It's definitely across the board.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree as well. Definitely seeing it a lot from recent grads and even some midterm careers, but I do see it across the board.
Rich McMenamin, I think you have a question. Jump in, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Great conversation, and what a timely topic. I've been thinking for the longest time, talent is the big differentiator in almost every organization, right? So we're all trying to find the best talent, retain the talent, develop the talent. Just a couple of thoughts. For context, I'm involved in some small private equity type operating companies. I'm involved in venture capital, and in my spare time, I'm running a girls' Catholic high school in the city. I'd like to say this is our library here, but it's not. In any case, I'm also from a very large family, and curiously enough, a lot of my siblings that have only worked for one company or in one fairly narrow niche have gotten into their 60s, and they are totally burned out. And for years and years, they've been teasing me about all the different jobs that I've had. And as my kind of intro comments might suggest, I've never been more energized. I just turned 65. I got more things that I'm interested in and working on that I have hours in the day. And I'm just curious at a high level if that resonates with anyone in terms of the diversity of experience creating a sense of curiosity and enthusiasm and interest for different kinds of enterprises, as opposed to fairly narrow over a long period of time that might lead to burnout. So that's comment number one, and a question of sorts. And then comment number two, curiously enough, in the school environment, where you might imagine, dealing with parents and masks and vaccinations, man, we're talking big time burnout across the board. It's very different experience. So I think different environments have different dynamics at play that either minimize certain of these stresses or in fact accelerate and maximize them. A school environment is pretty high stress level right now from what I can tell. So Mike, thanks for allowing me to share my comments with the group.
No, thank you, Rich. We appreciate it. It kind of takes us down a totally different direction. Anyone like to weigh in on Rich's point? We'll take a few minutes, or if not, we can leave it. Thoughts?
I can jump in just
yeah.
one second with the burnout and comment one regarding diversity of experiences. Yeah, I think no matter where you are in your career and what lane you're in, you could obviously fall into burnout, especially with the pandemic and everything you mentioned about schooling. I'm a father of a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, so I've seen this very well, and I've been home for 18 months. But I like your term diversity of experience. This is where I was talking about a few minutes ago regarding the talent drive internally. We want to provide individuals that work for us that have either been a year or 15 years or 18 years to explore the experiences within our own walls before they seek opportunities and experience outside our walls. So we're trying to provide this sort of at least exposure of diversity of experiences to our employees and to have them really intrinsically get interested and curious in other areas of the bank. There's so much opportunity and different professional roles that really you could find it outside our walls, absolutely. But why not explore it internally unless you're trying to really at one point just kind of get out and do something new outside of banking or outside of technology within banking, whatever. But I think the diversity of experiences is a great phrase, because that's exactly what people want to avoid burnout. Also, not just climbing their careers, sort of that ladder, but that lattice, right? The lattice goes left, right, north, south, versus just the ladder that goes either north and south. So I think those experiences, organizations should try to foster some more diversity of experiences for their employees.
Absolutely. And I'll comment on that. It's been shown, researchers have found that 67% of job seekers will look for a diverse workforce over other important factors when they choose a company that they're looking to go work for. So diversity is a huge topic right now as well for candidates and employees in your organization. And along with burnout, burnout is coming from everywhere. Just personal life, professional life, everyone is experiencing it. So companies taking the time to recognize and offer resources and offer trainings and just offering time for employees to take for themselves. I mean, how often are people taking time off just because they have to take their kids somewhere, or because their kid is sick, or because they have to they got to take them to this appointment, or this, they're not taking time off for themselves, right? They're always taking time off to do something or for someone else or take someone somewhere. So that's another thing to think about in your organization. Are you offering those resources to your employees, and is your organization diverse enough? How are you looking for those candidates, and how are you interviewing those candidates? Do you have a diverse panel in your interviewing process as you interview those process, right? Because if it's just the one person of that one department, that person has their experience, their perception, and no one else's perception or mindset is being offered in that evaluation of that candidate. So a couple of things to think about.
Yeah, which kind of leads us to the segues nicely into the next aspect of this, because we're also talking not only about attracting talent, but also retention, which is critically important. Doesn't do much good to hire somebody if you're just going to lose someone out the other end and tread water. Mary Ann, in the manufacturing environment that you're in, what is the role that, say, trust and transparency plays in employee retention in this unique world we're in now?
I think those are key to employees feeling comfortable and looking long-term at any organization. We're a very small manufacturer. We're located in Decatur, Illinois, where many global companies call home as well. So competing for talent in our area is really a challenge. One of the unique things Mason offers is our unique products that we fabricate. We are not an assembly line. The example behind me is a very large pressure vessel, but we have all different sizes and types of pressure vessels that we fabricate for our diverse culture of customers. And I think employees need to see that we value them and value what they contribute, and we allow them to have some empowerment and engagement in finding ways to best meet our customers' needs. And when you lose their trust, there's many opportunities for them to look elsewhere. And I think in an environment where we rely on each other so closely, you need to follow through. Do what you say you're going to do. And most of all, when you make a mistake, own up to that mistake. Be honest with your employees. I may not be able to share all the financials with the employees because of being privately held, but I do try to share statistics. I try to give them a sense of what is going on in the marketplace. That transparency, they're a part of the success of our company, and they need to be involved in that. And that trust, and do you value what their contribution is, plays out very quickly, because if you come through and say, no, there's only one way to do this, versus letting their experience and their knowledge and letting them take some opportunities to own that, I think that is key. And that keeps us relevant here in this marketplace, where there's many opportunities for these skilled workers to find value in what they're producing. But here we have a very unique niche and a family oriented opportunity for them, and that works for us.
Mm-hmm. And Neha, you work, obviously, as I said before, with a diverse mix of different clients and different cultures, and entering the scene at different moments in time relative to where they are on the spectrum of HR expertise and experience. Can you share a little bit of a perspective on how you've been able to impact trust and transparency, and how perhaps it has resulted in a decrease in turnover and improvement in retention?
Yeah, sure. So we work, as you said, we work with many clients across all industries. We had a client that was not sure in terms of, where their employees, sorry, let me take a step back. We had an organization who right before the pandemic started that they got a new CEO, and the previous CEO, there was definitely some issues and concerns. Employees weren't as forthcoming. The CEO wasn't as forthcoming with us either in terms of our relationship. But as a new CEO came on board right before the pandemic, he partnered with us to find out, what Insperity can offer in terms of services and guidance and practices. And there are things that he wanted, he had some goals that he wanted to put in place. And we started with an employee survey. And the survey was not bad, but it had opportunities for improvement. And this CEO ensured that he took action and committed to the results of the survey to his employees. And when the pandemic then happened as well, he was right there and then partnering with us. Where do we start? How do we address this? We worked with them to provide, talking points, communication, just listening to some of the issues that were coming up across the board. And he took those and, took our recommendations. He implemented there. He started making sure he was checking in with each and every single one of his employees to build that trust, to let them know that they were going to be okay, where the company was, going in this uncertain time. And even when he said he didn't have the answer, he let them know he didn't have the answer, but he would get back to them as they figured things out. But getting their employees' input was huge for him and making a difference. We look at them a year later. We did another survey. Their survey results were phenomenal. They brought everyone back. This is one of my clients who went from being in person to being completely remote. And they brought everyone together this past June for a huge meeting, but this meeting was not just for purpose on bringing everyone's goals together and top priorities for this upcoming year and to work on those pieces, but it was also for people to get together and feel involved and from a social aspect as well, giving them the opportunity to meet people, talk to people, rebuild those relationships on a personal level, and be, making sure that they didn't feel isolated.
Very good, thank you. Fonz, anything to add on this topic?
Regarding trust, yes. I think everyone mentioned that trust is critical, transparency, but think about trust in your own personal relationships, right? And not only your professional relationships. If trust is eroded or trust is broken, then what else is there, right? So yeah, trust and transparency, especially going through a global pandemic and crisis. This is where, I think now you were talking about a CEO and communicating with each of their employees. That over communication during a time of crisis is incredibly important, and to build that trust and transparency, not only from being the new CEO of that organization, maintaining and sustaining that level of trust and transparency is key to any retention, either personal or professional.
Thank you. So one of the phenomena that we're seeing is something I think we refer to as ghosting, and that is why are applicants. First of all, why are our applicants not responding to my job posting, and how can I minimize candidates ghosting me once they've accepted an interview? It was the other way around for many, many years, and now the shoe seems to be on the other foot. Comments on this phenomenon from either our panelists and or any of our attendees? I think it's an interesting topic. Marianne, are you experiencing this? And if so, how are you combating this?
I think the ghosting is always a shock. We've always been used to being able to contact potential employees and work with them, and then when you receive no one showing up for an interview or no phone call is accepted, it's kind of a hit to the old ego there. But I think the bigger picture is there's so much opportunity, there's so many options, there's jobs everywhere you look. So as an employer, we're trying to very quickly address any interest and move very quickly versus waiting a week or two. If someone has an interest, within that next 24 hours, reach out to them and try to make that conversation happen to see if there really is a good fit to keep moving forward that process.
I knew I had to do that at least once, so my apologies. Wouldn't be a Zoom call if we didn't mute ourselves at least once by mistake. Fonz, from the perspective of an enterprise organization, are you seeing this on a regular basis now? And if so, are you able to minimize it? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, I would echo some of Marianne's comments. I mean, there's just so much opportunity out there. And regardless of the offering, regardless of the brand, regardless of the role itself and the growth of an organization, yeah, I mean, applicants just have so many choices. And if you go back to the comment earlier about either YOLO or, you know, ensuring purpose or any of these things, now it's the employee's market, right? So they're going to be very choosy and they have a lot of options. And a lot of the times when we are offering to a potential new employee, that individual may already have 2 or 3 offers on the table. So we're a part of 4 offers that someone can really pick and choose from. And that's amazing for employees and potential employees out there, that they can really find numerous things. We found some people that are just finding their dream jobs, right? And their dream jobs at a higher salary that allows all the things that we talked about, right? Some of the flexibility to work from home, from wherever, an organizational culture that provides a true purpose, emphasis on ESG, so the environmental, social, and governance, you know, training and development. There's just so many offerings. So if you're an employer out there and you're looking at yourself and your retention rates are increasing higher than you have folks coming in the door, you have to take a look at all of your offerings, not just pay. And we know that from all the research, pay is not the #1 factor in why people are leaving. It is a factor, no doubt, but it is not 1 or even 2 or the top 3 that we're seeing across the board. So the ghosting, they just have so many offers, so many choices, and they're going with the one that best fits them overall, which is, again, the employee's market.
Right. And perhaps a comment also from any of you on what I would call the onboarding process. We spend so much time in the interviewing process. We devote a lot of our attention and effort to getting people to accept our offers, bring them on board. Hopefully they don't ghost us by not showing up even after they've accepted the offer, which is another phenomenon I think people are experiencing as well. But why don't we comment a little bit on the optimal onboarding process and some of the things to avoid to ensure that you're not neglecting a brand new employee once they've gotten past their first or second day. Comments on that? Neha, I know you work with quite a few companies at the very outset, startups and early stage businesses too. What are you seeing as a best practice from an onboarding perspective?
So, you know, your first impression of your organization starts from day one, from that very first initial contact that you call that employee and pre-screen them, right? So you want to make sure that you are giving them, you know, what I would call the red carpet treatment, right? So if the employee or that applicant knows from day one that you are actually, you know, investing in them and caring about them and valuing them, that's going to help in that process. And you want to make sure that your onboarding process is not taking a month, right? So with today, since employees have so many different options to choose from and many you know, people calling left and right for interviews and so forth. And if one company is moving along faster and you're still stuck here behind, like, oh, well, we have to go through the first round of interviews and then we have to wait for a second round of interviews and then we got to go through the pre-screening background checks. You know, one is you're looking for applicants, take a look at the resume. You know, sometimes, you know, making sure that you, on their resume, you know, they have 70% of the qualifications that you need or the experience that you need. You're not going to find that, you know, 100%. And then on the next stage, you know, maybe shortening your interview time. So maybe you do back-to-back interviews, or you have a panel interview where multiple are in that first round of interviews. So you don't have like second round and third round and fourth round interview process. So just making sure that the timeline has been shortened and making sure you stay in touch with that candidate, you know, from letting them know where that you guys are in the process, when they should expect to hear back from you. And then even in your background screening processes, sometimes many companies are screening for lots of different things. We even noticed it in our own organization where you already know this person has a college degree. Why are we still looking to confirm their high school degree? So little things like that, right? That can take up a long time in the screening process and the background checks and things that you are processing. So sometimes take a look at that process and what you're screening for and what is truly accurate to screen for as well.
Good. Marianne, how do you handle onboarding in at Mason?
Onboarding, obviously do the paperwork up front, but following up with that candidate after their first week, after a couple of weeks, finding out what they're enjoying, making sure there's the communication, not just with the direct supervisor, but also from the people in the office. I usually try to follow up at least once, if not twice, during that first month. And then making sure the employee knows what opportunities there are for training or for interacting with other parts of the company, just so that they learn more about the organization and how the different pieces work together, I think is important.
Bonds, anything to add on this topic?
No, I think I would echo a lot of the comments. You know, onboarding, like anything, is important from the onset, but also where you get to the 90 day to 180 days. Think about how much ramp up time it takes someone to be productive in their new roles. I think, Neha, I think you mentioned the fact that not just the onboarding, but I guess, optimizing your interview process. We're seeing now, if you're an employer that's going into, you know, 5, 6 round interviews, you're dead in the water, right? There's too many offers for people. You know, you're moving and optimizing the process from back-to-back interviews and then getting hiring managers, recruiters, whoever into one room. So one room, quote unquote, virtually, and making decisions in real time. That's going to speed some process up. But if not, you're gonna just really hurt yourself in the process and lose candidates.
Great. There was one comment I was going to make, and that is from an onboarding perspective, I've seen there seems to sometimes be a misunderstanding about the type of culture that the employee is entering into. You know, is it a social culture or is it a work culture? Little things, is punctuality critical or is it casual? Is it a teamwork type of an organization, or do people value working alone? Is there a strict hierarchy, or does senior management encourage an open door policy? These are all things that a new hire doesn't necessarily know. They may get a feel for it during the interviewing process, but they don't necessarily know. And you know, according to SHRM, I made a note here, half of all hourly workers leave new jobs within the first 4 months, and it's primarily because of a cultural disconnect, at least according to what the study said. Not necessarily because they didn't have the right skill set. So I think we cannot emphasize enough the importance of the onboarding for the first several weeks being critical to employee retention. Not just bringing them on, but making sure they have a favorable experience in their first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, etc. So the only other thing I've got here in terms of my questions that I don't think we've covered would be, we did touch on it, but maybe we can just touch on it a little bit more, and then we'll kind of wind things up. Anybody has any comments? And that is, Neha, you talked a little bit earlier about the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in today's world, obviously being critical in differentiating an organization as an employer of choice or a destination employer. Can you expand on that a little bit in terms of best practices, what you're seeing some organizations do to address that particular issue, which is so critical today?
Yes, absolutely. So there are a couple things that employers can do to make sure that they have a diverse workplace. One, that starts in the recruiting, right? Making sure you're looking at a variety of applicants that bring a variety of different experiences. Like I said, sometimes, you know, what we need on a resume and, you know, you're looking for 70%, right? Because what they're going to bring to the table, you're going to determine from the interview and getting to know that person and what kind of values that person has, and if those values outline match yours. So you want to make sure your talent acquisition strategy has been adjusted to include a variety of different markets, diverse pool of candidates from, as you said, if you've got hybrid and remote options, you can now look outside of your local area. And then also, one thing that we recommend sometimes if you're able to is like start covering up from a unconscious bias strategy, you know, cover up names when you're looking at the resume, you know, really focus on what that person is bringing, what kind of experience they have. And when you're putting project teams together in your organization, maybe pull people from different departments, different areas, different experience, different tenure, different genders. I mean, everything. You want to be able to look at a variety of, we're talking about today when we talk about diversity, it's more on diversity of thought and diversity of experience. It's not just the race and the gender and so forth. A company should also ensure that they're offering training on diversity. There is so many different areas of diversity that we can talk about, from just what is diversity, the fundamentals, to what about unconscious bias, microaggression behavior, inclusion. You know, how do we make our environment totally inclusive? You know, what are some things that the organization can do? And then I even had clients have reached out, have put in, you know, diversity programs and committees and things like that. And we've also had many clients, you know, change their holiday policy to not just, you know, to offer additional what we call floating holidays, so that way employees can take those holidays for what things that they want to celebrate in their own culture. So definitely want to, and if you're not the expert in diversity, you know, partner, either bring in a diversity team or a company or a consultant. Our organization, for our clients, they have that at their access. We have a diversity team and experts that are that can work with their clients from every stage on what they want to do in the organization from that aspect.
Very complex topic. Thanks, Neha. Fonz, any final thoughts on that particular issue from an enterprise perspective?
I got to tell you, Neha nailed it. I mean, those are certainly, all those areas are incredibly important. I mean, even just to add a couple points, it's leadership. You know, what does the makeup of your leadership look like? You know, do people of color see themselves in leadership positions, and how do you start to change that? Even from a collegiate setting, what do you broaden your search? For instance, tomorrow we're going to Hampton University as we continue to build our relationship with HBCUs. And also, I think, Neha, you mentioned benefit coverage is one thing. Yeah, I mean, look at the drugs that you offer for same-sex couples. Do you have a policy that allows partners to be covered? So it is a gamut of DEI, but also when it comes to hiring, and those are some of the retention points, even people networks or ERGs, whatever people call them at their organizations, is ensuring with all of the great resignation that's happening, you know, all the attraction you're trying to attract to your organization. Do you have diverse slates of talent at almost every single level, or are you hiring so much that you're no longer paying attention to the DEI? That is going to be critical as you move forward as an organization.
And I'll throw it over to Mary Ann for some comments from her perspective as well from downstate.
Yeah, I think what's important in our company right now is the fact that we have a core group of employees that have been here a very long time. They have so much skill and knowledge, and pairing them up with people entering the workforce, people just starting their career, getting the right personalities together, giving the opportunity for the employees that are seeing retirement coming very quickly, but recognizing the value that they still have and finding a way to bridge that gap. I think that's key for our organization. Our most young welder has been paired with some employees that have over 20 years of experience, and he is just excelling. They're getting some excitement from seeing him be excited to see what he can accomplish with welding, and they're talking about, I like training, I enjoy helping others, and so we're seeing some positive interactions now by asking people to express what they enjoy and sharing that knowledge, and that seems to be working for us right now.
Awesome, thank you. We're just about at the top of the hour. In fact, we are at the top of the hour. So any final comments? We'll maybe take 2-3 minutes to wrap it up, but I think we've had a good, rich discussion here. Any final comments from our panelists or any of our attendees? And after that, I'll throw it over to Bob Rodenbaugh for a couple final thoughts and what's coming up next in our series. Neha, anything that you'd like to conclude with?
No, thank you so much for having me on the panel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate your input and expertise. Fonz?
Yeah, I echo that. Thanks for having us. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier.
It's okay. It all worked out, although we couldn't see your face, but we appreciate hearing your voice. Mary Ann?
I just appreciate the opportunity to share about our company. I think we have a great future here in manufacturing, and we get to moving forward with the talents that people are bringing to the table, and I think the outlook for the United States is very positive.
Great. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you for attending this morning, all of our attendees. We know your time is valuable, and we certainly appreciate your being here. Bob, a couple thoughts from TEI's perspective, what's coming up, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Michael, and to all of the panelists. Definitely appreciate your input and time this morning. As Mike said at the outset, could not be a more relevant topic right now as we wrap up 2021. So appreciate the time and appreciate all that took the time to attend this morning as well. As Mike referenced at the kickoff, we will be doing this as kind of a series, and the next one, we'll let everybody get through holidays, and I think that we're going to be back on the 12th of January. At that point, we're going to start delving into M&A. The working theme that we're putting together now is the complexities of the current M&A environment. We all know that it's very frothy, for lack of a better term, as we're wrapping up this year. I don't anticipate that changing much as we head into next year. And then when we get to May of 2022, we will be back in person for a spring President's Symposium event. Mike, again, referenced at the outset that we opted not to do that this past September. So we will be with you in person in May, and details will be forthcoming for that half-day event where we'll have multiple speakers, multiple topics. So look forward to seeing many of you at that event, as well as the next virtual event on January 12th. So again, thank you to everyone. Appreciate everybody's time. And again, thank you to the panel. Very good content. This was recorded, so I will get this out to everybody if you want to share with your teams. Always great content to be able to do that. So I'll get it cleaned up and get it out to everybody here within the next week or so. So again, thank you. Everybody have a great rest of the week and take care.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
all.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good day.
Well done.
Good job, Michael. Good job, yeah. Appreciate it this morning.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.